Question 1. In Minnesota, what is the primary purpose of the principle of insurable interest in personal lines insurance? A. To ensure that the insured can profit from the insurance policy. B. To guarantee that the insurance policy covers every possible type of loss. C. To verify that the insured has a financial stake in the insured property or person. D. To allow the insured to claim more than the actual loss. Correct answer. C. To verify that the insured has a financial stake in the insured property or person. Explanation. The principle of insurable interest requires that the insured has a financial stake in the property or person covered by the insurance policy. This ensures that the insurance contract is legitimate and prevents speculative or fraudulent claims. Options A, B, and D misrepresent the purpose of insurable interest by suggesting profit or excessive coverage which are not aligned with this principle. Question 2. Which type of coverage under Minnesota Personal Auto Policy PAP would reimburse an insured for medical expenses resulting from a car accident regardless of fault? A. Liability coverage. B. Uninsured motorist coverage. C. Medical payments coverage. D. Collision coverage. Correct answer. C. Medical payments coverage. Explanation. Medical payments coverage under personal auto policy reimburses the insured for medical expenses resulting from a car accident, regardless of who is at fault. Liability coverage is for damages or injuries to others for which the insured is legally responsible. Uninsured motorist coverage covers damages caused by uninsured drivers, and collision coverage pays for damage to the insured's vehicle from a collision. Question 3. Mr. Johnson's Minnesota homeowners insurance policy has coverage C, personal property, with a limit of $50,000 and a $500 deductible. If his personal property sustains $60,000 in damage from a covered event, how much will his insurer cover? A. $49,500. B. $50,000. C. $59,500. D. $60,000. Correct answer. B. $50,000. Explanation. Coverage C. Personal property will cover damages up to the policy limit. In this case, the damage amount is $60,000, but the coverage C limit is $50,000. After applying the $500 deductible, the insurer will cover the maximum policy limit of $50,000. Thus, the payout is $50,000, which is the coverage limit minus the deductible. Question 4. In Minnesota, which of the following policies would provide coverage for a dwelling that is rented out to tenants? A. Homeowners policy HO3. B. Dwelling policy DPA3. C. Flood insurance policy. D. Personal umbrella policy. Correct answer. B. Dwelling policy DPA3. Explanation. A dwelling policy DP3 is designed specifically for properties that are rented out or not owner-occupied. It provides coverage for the dwelling itself but does not cover personal property or liability, which is typical in a homeowner's policy HO3. Flood insurance and personal umbrella policies do not provide specific coverage for rental properties. Question 5. Which of the following is NOT typically covered under a standard homeowners insurance policy in Minnesota? A. Damage from fire. B. Loss of personal property due to theft. C. Earthquake damage. D. Liability for injuries occurring on the property. Correct answer. C. Earthquake damage. Explanation. Standard homeowners insurance policies usually cover damage from fire, theft, and liability for injuries on the property. However, earthquake damage is typically excluded from standard policies and requires a separate endorsement or policy. Coverage for earthquakes is not included in the base homeowners insurance policy. Question 6. Mr. Lee's Minnesota auto insurance policy includes collision coverage. If he is involved in an accident where his vehicle sustains $12,000 in damage and his deductible is $1,000, how much will his collision coverage pay? A. $11,000. B. $12,000. C. $10,000. D. $1,000. Correct answer. A. $11,000. Explanation. collision coverage pays for damage to the insured vehicle after subtracting the deductible. With $12,000 in damage and a $1,000 deductible, the payout will be $12,000. $1,000 equals $11,000. The policy covers the cost of repairs or replacement up to the amount of damage minus the deductible. Question 7. In Minnesota, which of the following is a common exclusion in a standard personal umbrella policy? A. Claims arising from personal injury lawsuits. B. Claims related to professional services or business activities. C. Claims from automobile accidents involving uninsured drivers. D. Claims resulting from damage to rental properties. Correct answer. B. Claims related to professional services or business activities. Explanation. Personal umbrella policies generally exclude coverage for claims related to professional services or business activities, as these are usually covered under a separate professional liability insurance policy. The policy is designed to provide additional coverage over and above other personal liability policies. Claims arising from personal injury lawsuits, uninsured driver accidents, and damage to rental properties may be covered depending on the policy terms. Question 8. Under standard homeowners insurance policy in Minnesota, which coverage part provides compensation for temporary living expenses if the insured's home becomes uninhabitable? A. Coverage A. Dwelling. B. Coverage B. Other structures. C. Coverage C. Personal property. D. Coverage D. Loss of use. Correct answer. D. Coverage D. Loss of use. Explanation. Coverage D. Loss of use provides compensation for additional living expenses incurred when the insured's home is uninhabitable due to a covered peril. Coverage A is for the dwelling itself, coverage B is for other structures on the property, and coverage C covers personal property. Question 9. MS. Clark's Minnesota personal auto insurance policy has a $300,000 limit for bodily injury liability if she is found legally responsible for a car accident where the total bodily injury claims amount to $500,000. What is the maximum amount her policy will pay? A. $300,000. B. $500,000. C. $300,000 per person. D. $500,000 per accident. Correct answer A. $300,000. Explanation. Bodily injury liability coverage limits represent the maximum amount the insurer will pay for claims related to bodily injury per accident or per person as specified in the policy. In this case, with a $300,000 limit, the policy will pay up to $300,000 for bodily injury claims regardless of the total amount of claims. The limit is not per accident but per policy limits. Question 10. In Minnesota, which of the following types of coverage is typically included in a standard homeowner's insurance policy to protect against damage caused by sudden and accidental discharge of water from plumbing systems? A. Earthquake coverage. B. Flood insurance. C. Water backup coverage. D. Personal property floater. Correct answer. C. Water backup coverage. Explanation. Water backup coverage is an endorsement that protects against damage caused by the sudden and accidental discharge of water from plumbing systems, which is not covered under a standard homeowner's insurance policy. Earthquake coverage and flood insurance address different types of risks, while a personal property floater covers specific valuable items rather than general water damage. Question 11. Mr. Davis has a dwelling policy D/2 in Minnesota with coverage E. Additional living expense and his rental property is rendered uninhabitable by a covered peril if his additional living expenses total $8,000 and his policy limit is $10,000. How much will his policy cover? A. $8,000. B. $10,000. C. $12,000. D. $0. Correct answer A. $8,000. Explanation. Coverage E. Additional living expense under dwelling policy D/2 will cover the actual additional living expenses incurred due to the property being uninhabitable up to the policy limit. Since Mr. Davis's expenses are $8,000 and the policy limit is $10,000, his policy will cover the full $8,000 incurred. Question 12. In Minnesota, if an insured's auto policy includes underinsured motorist coverage and the insured is involved in an accident with an underinsured driver causing $40,000 in damages, but the at-fault driver's coverage is only $20,000, what will the insured's underinsured motorist coverage pay if the insured's policy limit is $30,000? A. $10,000, B. $20,000, C. $30,000, D. $40,000. Correct answer A. $10,000. Explanation. Underinsured motorist coverage pays the difference between the total damages and the amount covered by the at-fault driver's insurance up to the insured's policy limit. Here, the damages are $40,000. The at-fault driver's coverage is $20,000, leaving a gap of $20,000. However, the insured's policy limit is $30,000, so the underinsured motorist coverage will pay up to $10,000, which is the gap between the at-fault driver's coverage and the total damages. Question 13. In Minnesota, which of the following best describes the coverage provided by an inland marine insurance policy? A. Coverage for personal property while in transit over water. B. Coverage for personal property against flood damage. C. Coverage for valuable items such as jewelry or art, both on and off premises. D. Coverage for damage caused by earthquakes. Correct answer. C. Coverage for valuable items such as jewelry or art, both on and off premises. Explanation. Inland marine insurance provides coverage for valuable personal property, including items like jewelry, art, and collectibles, while they are in transit or temporarily off the premises. It does not cover flood damage, earthquake damage, or only waterborne transit. These are covered by other types of insurance. Question 14. Which endorsement should be added to a Minnesota homeowner's insurance policy to cover business property used on the insured premises? A. Personal property floater. B. Business pursuits endorsement. C. Home business endorsement. D. Equipment breakdown endorsement. Correct answer. C. Home business endorsement. Explanation. A home business endorsement provides coverage for business property and liability associated with operating a business from the insured's home. The personal property floater covers personal property but not business equipment. The business pursuits endorsement is for business activities away from the home, and the equipment breakdown endorsement covers mechanical failures. Question 15. Mr. Green's Minnesota auto insurance policy includes a $500 deductible for comprehensive coverage if his vehicle is damaged by a vandalism act resulting in $2,500 worth of repairs. How much will his insurer cover? A. $2,500. B. $2,000. C. $1,500. D. $500. Correct answer. B. $2,000. Explanation. Comprehensive coverage pays for damage to the vehicle caused by events other than collision such as vandalism after subtracting the deductible, with a $500 deductible and $2,500 in damage. The insurer will cover $2,500. 500 alls equals as this is in dollars. Question 16. In Minnesota, if a personal auto policy includes a medical payments coverage, Part B, limit of $5,000, what is this coverage designed to pay for? A. Repairs to the insured vehicle after a collision. B. Legal defense costs for the insured and liability claims. C. Medical expenses for injuries sustained by the insured and passengers, regardless of fault. D. Loss of income due to injury sustained in an accident. Correct answer. C. Medical expenses for injuries sustained by the insured and passengers, regardless of fault. Explanation. Medical payments coverage, Part B under personal auto policy, provides coverage for medical expenses incurred by the insured and passengers due to injuries sustained in an accident, regardless of who is at fault. It does not cover vehicle repairs, legal defense costs, or loss of income. Question 17. Which of the following is NOT typically a component of a dwelling policy D1 in Minnesota? A. Coverage for damage caused by windstorms. B. Coverage for theft of personal property. C. Coverage for fire damage to the dwelling. D. Coverage for liability claims related to the property. Correct answer, B. Coverage for theft of personal property. Explanation. The dwelling policy D1 provides basic coverage for perils such as fire and windstorms, but does not typically include coverage for theft of personal property or liability claims, which are covered under other policy types or endorsements. Theft of personal property is often excluded or requires a separate endorsement. Question 18, MS. Thompson's Minnesota homeowners insurance policy covers her home and personal property. If a fire causes $15,000 worth of damage to her home and her coverage dwelling limit is $20,000, while her coverage C, personal property, limit is $10,000, how much will her policy cover for the damage to the dwelling and personal property respectively? A. $15,000 for both dwelling and personal property. B. $15,000 for the dwelling and $10,000 for personal property. C. $20,000 for the dwelling and $10,000 for personal property. D. $15,000 for the dwelling and $0 for personal property. Correct answer, B. $15,000 for the dwelling and $10,000 for personal property. Explanation. Coverage with dwelling covers damage to the home itself up to the policy limit. In this case, the policy will cover up to $15,000 of the $20,000 limit for the dwelling. Coverage C, personal property, covers damage to personal belongings up to the policy limit, which is $10,000 in this case. Thus, the policy will cover $15,000 for the dwelling and $10,000 for personal property. Question 19. In Minnesota, which type of insurance is specifically designed to cover damage to property caused by floodwaters? A. Homeowners insurance. B. Inland marine insurance. C. Earthquake insurance. D. Flood insurance. Correct answer, D. Flood insurance. Explanation. Flood insurance is designed to provide coverage for damage caused by floodwaters, which is not typically covered under standard homeowners insurance policies. Inland marine insurance covers valuable personal property, earthquake insurance covers damage caused by earthquakes, and standard homeowners insurance does not cover flood-related damage unless an endorsement is added. Question 20. Which of the following is not a common exclusion found in a personal umbrella policy in Minnesota? A. Claims arising from intentional acts. B. Claims related to personal injury. C. Claims resulting from business activities. D. Claims for damages caused by an auto accident. Correct answer, D. Claims for damages caused by an auto accident. Explanation. Personal umbrella policies typically exclude coverage for intentional acts, personal injury claims, and damages related to business activities. However, they generally provide additional coverage for damages resulting from auto accidents beyond the limits of an underlying auto policy. Question 21. Mr. Johnson has a Minnesota dwelling policy D3 that includes coverage D, fair rental value. If his rental property is rendered uninhabitable due to a covered peril and he loses $4,000 in rental income, how much will coverage D reimburse him? A. $4,000. B. $3,000. C. $5,000. D. $0. Correct answer, A. $4,000. Explanation. Coverage D, fair rental value, under dwelling policy DP3, reimburses the insured for lost rental income if the property becomes uninhabitable due to a covered peril. In this case, if Mr. Johnson lost $4,000 in rental income, coverage D will cover the full amount of $4,000, assuming it is within the policy limits. Question 22. In Minnesota, which coverage under a personal auto policy provides protection against damages caused by a driver who has no insurance or insufficient insurance? A. Liability coverage. B. Comprehensive coverage. C. Collision coverage. D. Uninsured underinsured motorist coverage. Correct answer, D. Uninsured underinsured motorist coverage. Explanation. Uninsured underinsured motorist coverage is designed to protect the insured from damages caused by drivers who either have no insurance or insufficient insurance to cover the full extent of the damages. Liability coverage provides protection for damages the insured causes to others. Comprehensive coverage covers non-collision damages to the insured vehicle, and collision coverage pays for damages to the insured vehicle from a collision. Question 23. Which of the following is typically NOT covered by a standard homeowner's insurance policy in Minnesota? A. Damage from a fire. B. Theft of personal property. C. Damage from an earthquake. D. Liability for injuries occurring on the property. Correct answer. C. Damage from an earthquake. Explanation. A standard homeowner's insurance policy generally covers damage from fire, theft of personal property, and liability for injuries on the property. Earthquake damage, however, is typically excluded from standard policies and requires a separate endorsement or policy reference. Minnesota Statutes, Chapter 65-year, which specifies the common exclusions in homeowners' insurance policies and the need for additional coverage for earthquakes. Question 24. MS. Wilson's Minnesota homeowners insurance policy includes personal property coverage, coverage C, with a limit of $50,000. If a covered peril causes $60,000 in damage to her personal property, how much will her policy cover? A. $50,000. B. $60,000. C. $40,000. D. $30,000. Correct answer. A. $50,000. Explanation. Coverage C. Personal property under a homeowner's insurance policy provides coverage up to the policy limit for damage to personal property. If the damage exceeds the policy limit, the policy will only cover up to the limit, which in this case is $50,000. The insured would be responsible for the remaining $10,000 in damages. Question 25. In Minnesota, what is the primary purpose of a personal umbrella policy? A. To increase the liability limits of underlying policies such as auto or homeowners insurance. B. To cover losses from natural disasters not covered by other policies. C. To provide coverage for damage to personal property while traveling. D. To insure against business-related risks and liabilities. Correct answer. A. To increase the liability limits of underlying policies such as auto or homeowners insurance. Explanation. A personal umbrella policy provides additional liability coverage above and beyond the limits of underlying policies like auto and homeowners insurance. It does not specifically cover natural disasters, personal property while traveling, or business-related risks unless those risks fall under the scope of underlying policies. Question 26. If a homeowner in Minnesota has a policy with coverage dwelling under a homeowner's insurance policy and sustains a $10,000 loss due to fire, what factor will determine the amount covered for the loss? A. The deductible amount. B. The policy's coverage. B. Other structures limit. C. The policy's coverage. D. Loss of use limit. D. The amount of the fair market value of the home. Correct answer. A. The deductible amount. Explanation. For a homeowner's insurance policy, coverage was dwelling covers losses to the dwelling itself. The amount covered for the loss is reduced by the deductible amount. Coverage B, other structures, and coverage D, loss of use, are separate coverages and do not affect the payment under coverage A. The fair market value is relevant for determining if the home is adequately insured but does not directly impact the deductible application. Question 27. Mr. Adams, who lives in Minnesota, has an inland marine insurance policy for his high-value collectibles. If one of his collectibles, valued at $15,000, is stolen and the policy has a $1,000 deductible, how much will his insurance cover? A. $14,000. B. $15,000. C. $1,000. D. $13,000. Correct answer. A. $14,000. Explanation. Inland marine insurance provides coverage for high-value items such as collectibles. If a collectible worth $15,000 is stolen and the policy has a $1,000 deductible, the insurer will cover the amount of the loss minus the deductible, which amounts to $15,000. $1,000 equals $14,000. Question 20. In Minnesota, which of the following perils is typically covered by a standard dwelling policy DEPA 2? A. Earthquake, B. Flood, C. Fire and lightning, D. Wear and tear. Correct answer. C. Fire and lightning. Explanation. A standard dwelling policy DEPA 2 typically covers perils such as fire and lightning. It provides broad coverage compared to D1 but does not include coverage for earthquakes or floods, which require separate endorsements or policies. Wear and tear is not covered by any standard dwelling policies. Question 29. Which of the following is a key component of a personal auto policy PAP in Minnesota, which provides coverage for damages caused by a collision with another vehicle or object? A. Medical payments coverage, B. Comprehensive coverage, C. Collision coverage, D. Uninsured motorist coverage. Correct answer. C. Collision coverage. Explanation. Collision coverage is a key component of a personal auto policy PAP that pays for damages to the insured vehicle resulting from a collision with another vehicle or object. Medical payments coverage addresses medical expenses. Comprehensive coverage covers non-collision related damage, and uninsured motorist coverage protects against damages from uninsured drivers. Question 30. If a homeowner in Minnesota has a policy with coverage F, medical payments to others, and a visitor is injured on their property, what will coverage F provide? A. Compensation for the homeowner's legal defense costs. B. Medical expenses for the injured visitor regardless of fault. C. Compensation for the damaged property of the visitor. D. Lost wages for the injured visitor. Correct answer. B. Medical expenses for the injured visitor regardless of fault. Explanation. Coverage F, medical payments to others under a homeowner's insurance policy provides coverage for medical expenses incurred by visitors who are injured on the insured's property regardless of fault. It does not cover legal defense costs, property damage, or lost wages. Question 31. In Minnesota, which of the following is a common exclusion under a standard homeowner's insurance policy for personal property? A. Damage caused by a burst pipe. B. Loss of personal property due to theft. C. Damage to valuable items like jewelry or art. D. Losses related to wear and tear. Correct answer. D. Losses related to wear and tear. Explanation. A standard homeowner's insurance policy typically excludes coverage for losses related to wear and tear, as this is considered a maintenance issue rather than a sudden or accidental loss. Damage from a burst pipe, theft of personal property, and damage to valuable items can be covered, though valuable items might have specific limits or require endorsements. Question 32. Under a personal umbrella policy in Minnesota, which of the following scenarios would most likely require additional coverage beyond the primary underlying policies? A. A car accident where the damages exceed the limits of the auto insurance. B. A home fire that damages the insured's property. C. A theft of personal items within the home. D. A health-related issue covered under a medical insurance plan. Correct answer A. A car accident where the damages exceed the limits of the auto insurance. Explanation. A personal umbrella policy provides additional liability coverage beyond the limits of primary underlying policies, such as auto insurance. It is designed to cover scenarios where the damages exceed the limits of the underlying auto or homeowners policies. Home fires, thefts, and health-related issues are typically covered by their respective primary policies, though the umbrella policy can provide excess coverage in certain cases. Question 33. MS. Green's Minnesota dwelling policy DEPA 3 includes coverage for additional living expenses if her property becomes uninhabitable. If she incurs $3,500 in additional living expenses due to a covered loss, how much will her policy cover, assuming it has a $1,000 deductible? A. $3,500. B. $2,500. C. $4,500. D. $1,000. Correct answer A. $3,500. Explanation. Coverage for additional living expenses (IL) under dwelling policy DP3 covers costs incurred when the property becomes uninhabitable due to a covered peril. This coverage is provided in full up to the policy limit and the deductible does not apply to ALE. Therefore, Ms. Green would be reimbursed the full $3,500 for her additional living expenses. Question 34. In Minnesota, what is a primary difference between a homeowner's insurance policy and a dwelling policy DPA 2 in terms of coverage for personal property? A homeowner's insurance provides broader coverage for personal property compared to DPA 2. B. DPA 2 covers personal property while homeowner's insurance does not. C. Homeowner's insurance does not cover personal property, whereas DPA 2 does. D. Both policies provide identical coverage for personal property. Correct answer. A homeowner's insurance provides broader coverage for personal property compared to DPA 2. Explanation. Homeowners insurance policies typically offer more comprehensive coverage for personal property, including a broader range of perils and higher limits compared to dwelling policies like DPA 2. DPA 2 may have specific limitations or exclusions on personal property coverage, often requiring additional endorsements for high-value items. Question 35. What is the purpose of the self-insured retention? Sir, in a personal umbrella policy in Minnesota, A. To increase the deductible amount for claims. B. To cover the initial portion of a claim before the umbrella policy coverage kicks in. C. To provide additional coverage for high-value items. D. To reduce the overall premium of the umbrella policy. Correct answer. B. To cover the initial portion of a claim before the umbrella policy coverage kicks in. Explanation. Self-insured retention, sir, is the amount that the insured must pay out of pocket before the personal umbrella policy provides coverage. It functions similarly to a deductible but applies to claims where the umbrella policy will provide coverage once the SIR is met. It does not cover high-value items, reduce premiums, or increase deductibles. Question 36. Mr. Thompson has a personal auto policy, PAP, in Minnesota and wants to add coverage for his newly acquired classic car. What should he do to ensure that the car is adequately covered? A. Increase the liability limits on his existing auto policy. B. Purchase a separate classic car insurance policy. C. Add an endorsement to his existing auto policy. D. Cancel his current policy and purchase a new one. Correct answer. C. Add an endorsement to his existing auto policy. Explanation. To adequately cover a newly acquired classic car, Mr. Thompson should add an endorsement to his existing auto policy. This endorsement will provide specific coverage for the classic car, including agreed value coverage or specialized protection. Increasing liability limits or purchasing a separate policy may not provide the specialized coverage needed for a classic car. Question 37. In Minnesota, if a homeowner's property is damaged by a storm, which of the following coverage is under a standard homeowner's insurance policy would typically apply to repairs for the home's exterior? A. Personal property coverage. B. Liability coverage. C. Dwelling coverage. D. Medical payments coverage. Correct answer. C. Dwelling coverage. Explanation. Dwelling coverage under a standard homeowner's insurance policy is designed to cover repairs or replacement of the home structure, including the exterior, damaged by covered perils such as storms. Personal property coverage handles losses to personal belongings. Liability coverage addresses legal liabilities, and medical payments coverage is for medical expenses related to injuries occurring on the property. Question 38. Which of the following scenarios would typically not be covered under a standard personal auto policy, PAP, in Minnesota? A. Damages from a collision with another vehicle. B. Theft of the vehicle. C. Mechanical breakdown of the vehicle. D. Injury to an uninsured motorist. Correct answer. C. Mechanical breakdown of the vehicle. Explanation. Standard personal auto policy PAP covers damages resulting from collisions, theft of the vehicle, and injuries caused by uninsured motorists. However, mechanical breakdowns are not covered by a PAP. Such issues require separate mechanical breakdown insurance or extended warranties. Question 39. Mr. Johnson, who lives in Minnesota, has a valuable collection of antiques that he wants to insure. What type of policy or endorsement should he consider to ensure adequate coverage for these high-value items? A. Basic homeowners policy. B. Standard dwelling policy. C. Personal articles floater. D. Inland marine insurance. Correct answer. C. Personal articles floater. Explanation. A personal articles floater provides specialized coverage for high-value items such as antiques, offering broader protection than a standard homeowners policy or dwelling policy. Inland marine insurance is another option but is generally used for broader coverage of personal property beyond what is covered in a standard policy. Question 40. In Minnesota, which of the following is atypical coverage included in a standard homeowners insurance policy that is not included in a standard dwelling policy? D1. A. Liability coverage. B. Coverage for other structures. C. Loss of use coverage. D. Fair rental value. Correct answer. A. Liability coverage. Explanation. The standard homeowners insurance policy includes liability coverage, which protects against legal claims for injuries or damages caused by the insured's negligence. In contrast, the standard dwelling policy D1 does not include liability coverage. It focuses on covering the dwelling itself and related perils, but requires separate coverage or endorsements for liability protection. Question 41. What is the primary purpose of the extended replacement cost endorsement in a homeowner's insurance policy in Minnesota? A. To increase coverage limits for personal property. B. To cover additional living expenses during home repairs. C. To provide additional funds beyond the policy limit for rebuilding after a covered loss. D. To cover damages to vehicles. Correct answer. C. To provide additional funds beyond the policy limit for rebuilding after a covered loss. Explanation. The extended replacement cost endorsement increases the coverage limit for rebuilding the home after a covered loss, providing additional funds beyond the policy limit. It helps cover the increased costs of materials and labor due to inflation or rising building costs. It does not cover personal property, additional living expenses, or vehicle damages. Question 42. MS Adams has recently purchased a flood insurance policy in Minnesota. Which of the following is typically covered under a standard national flood insurance program and FIP policy? A. Damage to landscaping and trees. B. Damage to the building's foundation. C. Damage to personal property stored in the basement. D. Damage caused by sewer backup. Correct answer. B. Damage to the building's foundation. Explanation. A standard national flood insurance program (NFIP) policy typically covers damage to the building's foundation as well as other structural components and contents within the building. It generally does not cover damage to landscaping, personal property stored in the basement, or sewer backups, which often require separate coverage or endorsements. Question 43. In Minnesota, under a standard personal auto policy (PAP), which coverage would typically apply if your vehicle is damaged by a falling tree branch? A. Liability coverage. B. Collision coverage. C. Comprehensive coverage. D. Medical payments coverage. Correct answer. C. Comprehensive coverage. Explanation. Comprehensive coverage under a personal auto policy (PAP) is designed to cover damage to your vehicle from non-collision events such as falling tree branches, vandalism, or natural disasters. Liability coverage addresses damages to others, collision coverage covers damages from collisions with other vehicles, and medical payments coverage is for medical expenses resulting from an accident. Question 44. Which of the following is a typical exclusion under a standard dwelling policy (DPA2) in Minnesota? A. Fire damage. B. Water damage from a burst pipe. C. Damage caused by earthquakes. D. Vandalism. Correct answer. C. Damage caused by earthquakes. Explanation. A standard dwelling policy (DPA2) typically excludes coverage for damage caused by earthquakes. Earthquake damage requires separate coverage or endorsement. It usually covers fire damage, water damage from burst pipes under certain conditions, and vandalism, although specific conditions may apply. Question 45. Mr. Davis has a personal umbrella policy in Minnesota with a $500,000 limit. If he is found liable for $700,000 in damages after an auto accident, how much will his umbrella policy cover, assuming his underlying auto policy has the $250,000 liability limit? A. $250,000, B. $500,000, C. $450,000, D. $700,000. Correct answer: B. $500,000. Explanation: the personal umbrella policy will cover the difference between the underlying auto policy's limit and the total damages. In this case, Mr. Davis's auto policy covers up to $250,000, so the umbrella policy will cover the remaining $450,000, i.e., $700,000 total damages minus $250,000 covered by the auto policy, but it will only pay up to its $500,000 limit. Thus, the umbrella policy would cover the full remaining amount up to its limit of $500,000. Question 46. In Minnesota, which endorsement would be most appropriate for a homeowner who wants to add coverage for high-value jewelry items under their homeowner's insurance policy? A. Personal property floater. B. Scheduled personal property endorsement. C. Earthquake endorsement. D. Personal umbrella policy. Correct answer: B. Scheduled personal property endorsement. Explanation: a scheduled personal property endorsement allows policyholders to add coverage for high-value items like jewelry, art, or antiques, providing broader protection than standard personal property coverage. A personal property floater is similar but may cover a broader range of personal property. Earthquake endorsements cover damage from earthquakes, while a personal umbrella policy provides additional liability coverage. Question 47. Which of the following is a typical feature of a personal umbrella policy in Minnesota? A. Coverage for the policyholder's personal property. B. Coverage for damage to rented vehicles. C. Coverage for legal defense costs. D. Coverage for earthquakes and floods. Correct answer: C. Coverage for legal defense costs. Explanation: a personal umbrella policy typically provides additional coverage for legal defense costs above the limits of underlying policies. It does not generally cover personal property or rented vehicles, nor does it provide coverage for specific perils like earthquakes and floods, which may require separate policies or endorsements. Question 48. Ms. Green has a homeowner's insurance policy in Minnesota. If she experiences a covered loss due to vandalism and the damage exceeds her policy limit, what option is available to her to cover the excess amount? A. Increase her deductible. B. Add a loss assessment coverage endorsement. C. Purchase a separate excess liability policy. D. Apply for a new homeowner's insurance policy with higher limits. Correct answer: C. Purchase a separate excess liability policy. Explanation: if Ms. Green's homeowner's insurance policy limit is exceeded by the covered loss, she could consider purchasing a separate excess liability policy to cover the excess amount, increasing her deductible, adding a loss assessment coverage endorsement, or applying for a new policy may not adequately address the need for coverage beyond her current policy limits. Question 49. Under Minnesota's homeowners insurance policies, which of the following is typically covered by loss of use coverage? A. Costs of repairing damaged personal property. B. Medical expenses for injuries sustained by guests. C. Temporary living expenses while the home is being repaired. D. Legal fees for liability claims. Correct answer: C. Temporary living expenses while the home is being repaired. Explanation: loss of use coverage in homeowners insurance provides compensation for temporary living expenses incurred while the home is uninhabitable due to a covered loss, such as damage from a fire. It does not cover the cost of repairing personal property, medical expenses for injuries, or legal fees for liability claims, which are covered under different parts of the policy. Question 50. Which of the following is a primary difference between a homeowner's policy HO3 and HO5 in Minnesota? A. HO3 covers more perils than HO5. B. HO5 provides open peril coverage for both dwelling and personal property. C. HO3 excludes water damage, while HO5 includes it. D. HO5 has higher coverage limits for liability compared to HO3. Correct answer. B. HO5 provides open peril coverage for both dwelling and personal property. Explanation. The primary difference between homeowners policy HO3 and HO5 is that HO5 provides open peril coverage for both the dwelling and personal property, whereas HO3 provides open peril coverage only for the dwelling and named perils coverage for personal property. HO5 offers broader protection and fewer exclusions compared to HO3. Question 51. Mr. Lewis in Minnesota accidentally causes damage to a neighbor's property while trimming his trees. Which type of insurance coverage would best address this situation? A. Personal auto policy liability coverage. B. Homeowners insurance liability coverage. C. Personal umbrella policy. D. Inland marine insurance. Correct answer. B. Homeowners insurance liability coverage. Explanation. Homeowners insurance liability coverage is designed to address damages caused by the policyholder's actions, including accidental damage to others' property. Personal auto policy liability coverage pertains to vehicle-related incidents, while personal umbrella policies provide additional liability protection above underlying policies. Inland marine insurance is typically used for movable property coverage. Question 52. In Minnesota, which of the following is true about personal property floater coverage under inland marine insurance? A. Only covers property while it is in transit. B. It provides coverage for high-value personal items on a worldwide basis. C. It excludes coverage for jewelry and artwork. D. It is only available as an endorsement to homeowners insurance. Correct answer. B. It provides coverage for high-value personal items on a worldwide basis. Explanation. Personal property floater coverage under inland marine insurance provides protection for high-value items, such as jewelry and artwork, on a worldwide basis, meaning it covers these items whether they are at home or traveling. It is not limited to transit, does include high-value items, and can be purchased independently of homeowners insurance. Question 53. Which of the following would typically be excluded from a standard flood insurance policy under the National Flood Insurance Program (NFIP) in Minnesota? A. Damage to the building's foundation. B. Damage caused by sewer backup. C. Damage to personal property within the home. D. Increased cost of compliance with building codes. Correct answer. B. Damage caused by sewer backup. Explanation. Standard flood insurance policies under the NFIP generally exclude damage caused by sewer backups. This coverage is typically not included and requires a separate endorsement or policy. Coverage under NFIP includes damage to the building's foundation, personal property, and increased costs for compliance with building codes. Question 54. Mr. Thompson, a resident of Minnesota, has a personal auto policy with both liability and comprehensive coverage. If Mr. Thompson's vehicle is stolen, which coverage would apply to replace the vehicle? A. Liability coverage. B. Collision coverage. C. Comprehensive coverage. D. Medical payments coverage. Correct answer. C. Comprehensive coverage. Explanation. Comprehensive coverage under personal auto policy is designed to cover losses resulting from theft, vandalism, natural disasters, and other non-collision related incidents. Liability coverage addresses damages to others caused by the insured. Collision coverage covers damage from collisions, and medical payments coverage is for medical expenses resulting from an accident. Question 55. In Minnesota, if a homeowner's property is damaged by an event not covered under a standard homeowner's insurance policy, which endorsement could provide additional protection? A. Flood insurance endorsement. B. Earthquake endorsement. C. Personal property floater. D. Personal liability endorsement. Correct answer. B. Earthquake endorsement. Explanation. A standard homeowner's insurance policy typically excludes coverage for earthquakes. An earthquake endorsement can be added to provide coverage for damage caused by seismic activity. Flood insurance endorsements cover flood damage. A personal property floater provides additional coverage for high-value items, and a personal liability endorsement enhances liability coverage, but they do not address earthquake damage. Question 56. Which of the following would most likely be a reason for an insurer in Minnesota to deny a claim under personal umbrella policy? A. The claim is for an incident that occurred outside the United States. B. The underlying auto insurance policy limits are sufficient to cover the claim. C. The policyholder's property is damaged by the covered peril. D. The incident is covered under the policy's liability coverage. Correct answer A. The claim is for an incident that occurred outside the United States. Explanation: personal umbrella policies often exclude coverage for incidents occurring outside the United States. Coverage typically applies to liability claims within the US and its territories, and an international incident might not be covered. Claims with sufficient underlying coverage or related to covered perils are generally not reasons for denial under a personal umbrella policy. Question 57. MS Hernandez's Minnesota homeowners insurance policy has an endorsement that covers additional living expenses if her home becomes uninhabitable. Which type of coverage does this endorsement represent? A. Dwelling coverage. B. Loss of use coverage. C. Personal property coverage. D. Liability coverage. Correct answer B. Loss of use coverage. Explanation: loss of use coverage, also known as additional living expenses (AL), compensates policyholders for extra living costs incurred when their home is uninhabitable due to a covered loss. It does not cover dwelling repairs, personal property, or liability claims, which are addressed by other policy sections. Question 58. In Minnesota, which type of policy would provide the broadest coverage for a residential rental property, including protection against a wide range of perils? A. Dwelling policy D1. B. Dwelling policy DPA 2. C. Dwelling policy DPA 3. D. Homeowners policy HO3. Correct answer C. Dwelling policy DPA 3. Explanation: dwelling policy DPA 3, also known as the special form, provides the broadest coverage among dwelling policies, offering open peril coverage for the dwelling itself and named perils coverage for personal property. It covers a wide range of risks, including those not covered under DPA 1 or DPA 2 policies. Homeowners policy HO3 is comprehensive for homeowners but is not typically used for residential rental properties. Question 59. Which of the following is NOT typically covered under a standard personal auto policy (PAP) in Minnesota? A. Theft of personal items from the vehicle. B. Damage to the vehicle caused by a hit-and-run driver. C. Medical expenses for injuries sustained in an accident. D. Damage to the vehicle caused by a collision with another vehicle. Correct answer A. Theft of personal items from the vehicle. Explanation: a standard personal auto policy (PAP) typically covers damage to the vehicle caused by collision, medical expenses for injuries from an accident, and damage from hit-and-run drivers. However, theft of personal items from the vehicle is usually excluded and may require separate coverage or an endorsement. Question 60. If Mr. Johnson in Minnesota wants to add additional coverage for items such as fine art and collectibles under his homeowner's insurance policy, which endorsement should he consider? A. Earthquake endorsement. B. Scheduled personal property endorsement. C. Flood endorsement. D. Personal liability endorsement. Correct answer B. Scheduled personal property endorsement. Explanation: the scheduled personal property endorsement allows policyholders to add coverage for high-value items like fine art and collectibles, providing additional protection beyond standard homeowners insurance. Earthquake and flood endorsements cover specific perils, while personal liability endorsements enhance liability coverage but do not address high-value personal items. Question 61. Which of the following would typically be excluded from a standard personal umbrella policy in Minnesota? A. Claims arising from professional services. B. Liability claims resulting from an automobile accident. C. Coverage for additional living expenses after a covered loss. D. Claims involving defamation or slander. Correct answer A. Claims arising from professional services. Explanation. Personal umbrella policies generally exclude coverage for claims arising from professional services, as these require professional liability insurance. The policy does provide additional liability coverage beyond underlying auto and homeowners policies and may cover defamation or slander under certain conditions, but not professional errors or omissions. Question 62. What is the primary purpose of the personal auto policy's PAP medical payments coverage in Minnesota? A. To cover repair costs for the insured vehicle. B. To provide compensation for injuries sustained by passengers in the insured vehicle. C. To cover liability for property damage caused by the insured vehicle. D. To provide reimbursement for lost wages due to an accident. Correct answer B. To provide compensation for injuries sustained by passengers in the insured vehicle. Explanation. Medical payments coverage under personal auto policy provides coverage for medical expenses incurred by the driver, passengers, or other persons injured in the insured vehicle regardless of fault. It does not cover vehicle repairs, liability for property damage, or lost wages. Question 63. MS. Davis in Minnesota is considering adding a personal articles floater to her inland marine insurance. Which of the following items would be most appropriate to insure under this floater? A. Standard home appliances. B. Personal property such as electronics and jewelry. C. The structure of the home. D. Liability for accidents occurring on the property. Correct answer. B. Personal property such as electronics and jewelry. Explanation. A personal articles floater under inland marine insurance is designed to provide coverage for high-value personal property like electronics, jewelry, and other valuable items. It is not intended for standard home appliances, structural coverage, or liability issues, which are covered under different policies. Question 64. In Minnesota, which of the following is true about the National Flood Insurance Program NFIP coverage for building property? A. Coverage for building property is limited to a maximum of $100,000. B. Coverage for building property includes damage to personal property inside the building. C. Coverage for building property includes the building's foundation, electrical and plumbing systems. D. Coverage for building property does not include replacement of the building's contents. Correct answer. C. Coverage for building property includes the building's foundation, electrical and plumbing systems. Explanation. Under the NFIP, coverage for building property includes not only the structure of the building, but also the foundation, electrical systems, and plumbing systems. Personal property inside the building is covered under a separate part of the flood policy. The coverage limit for building property is higher than $100,000 and contents replacement is handled separately. Question 65. Which of the following scenarios would most likely require Mr. Thompson in Minnesota to file a claim under his personal liability insurance? A. A guest's personal property is damaged in Mr. Thompson's home. B. Mr. Thompson's vehicle is damaged by a falling tree. C. Mr. Thompson's neighbor is injured while helping him with a home project. D. Mr. Thompson's home is damaged by a flood. Correct answer. C. Mr. Thompson's neighbor is injured while helping him with a home project. Explanation. Personal liability insurance covers injuries and damages for which the policyholder is legally responsible, such as injuries to others on their property or caused by their actions. Damage to personal property, vehicle damage, or home damage due to floods falls under other types of insurance or endorsements. Question 66. Which endorsement would best address the risk of loss for a high-value collection of rare stamps under a homeowner's insurance policy in Minnesota? A. Earthquake endorsement. B. Flood endorsement. C. Scheduled personal property endorsement. D. Personal liability endorsement. Correct answer. C. Scheduled personal property endorsement. Explanation. A scheduled personal property endorsement allows for the specific listing and additional coverage of high-value items, such as rare stamps or collectible coins, This endorsement provides broader protection than standard homeowners insurance for such valuable personal items. Earthquake and flood endorsements cover specific perils, and personal liability endorsements enhance liability coverage but do not cover high-value personal items. Question 67. Which of the following is a key difference between dwelling policy DEPA 1 and DEPA 2 in Minnesota? A. DEPA 1 provides open peril coverage, while DEPA 2 provides named peril coverage. B. DEPA 2 offers broader coverage for both the dwelling and personal property compared to D1. C. DEPA 1 covers personal property, while DEPA 2 only covers the dwelling. D. DEPA 2 includes coverage for additional living expenses, while DEPA 1 does not. Correct answer. B. DEPA 2 offers broader coverage for both the dwelling and personal property compared to D1. Explanation. Dwelling policy DEPA 2 broad form provides broader coverage than DEPA 1. Basic form. DEPA 2 includes coverage for a wider range of perils, both for the dwelling and personal property, compared to the more limited coverage under D1. DEPA 1 provides named peril coverage, while DEPA 2 offers broader named peril coverage and typically does not cover additional living expenses. Question 68. Under a standard personal auto policy PAP in Minnesota, which type of coverage would help pay for repairs to your vehicle after a collision with another car? A. Liability coverage. B. Medical payments coverage. C. Uninsured and underinsured motorist coverage. D. Collision coverage. Correct answer. D. Collision coverage. Explanation. Collision coverage under a personal auto policy helps pay for repairs to the insured vehicle after a collision with another car or object. Liability coverage addresses damages to others' property and injuries, while medical payments coverage covers medical expenses, and uninsured and underinsured motorist coverage addresses damages caused by drivers with insufficient insurance. Question 69. Mr. Lewis in Minnesota is seeking to protect his personal property while traveling abroad. Which insurance option would best meet this need? A. Personal property floater. B. Travel insurance. C. Personal liability insurance. D. Earthquake endorsement. Correct answer. B. Travel insurance. Explanation. Travel insurance is specifically designed to protect personal property and cover risks while traveling abroad. It includes coverage for lost or stolen personal items, medical emergencies, and other travel-related risks. Personal property floaters typically cover high-value items but do not address international travel. Personal liability insurance covers liability risks, and earthquake endorsements are not related to travel. Question 70. Which of the following types of insurance coverage would most likely be used to protect a homeowner in Minnesota against damage caused by a burst pipe? A. Flood insurance. B. Earthquake insurance. C. Homeowners insurance. D. Watercraft insurance. Correct answer. C. Homeowners insurance. Explanation. Homeowners insurance typically covers damage caused by plumbing issues such as a burst pipe. This type of insurance includes coverage for sudden and accidental water damage from internal sources. Flood insurance is specific to flood-related damage. Earthquake insurance covers damage from earthquakes, and watercraft insurance is related to boats and personal watercraft. Question 71. In Minnesota, what is the primary benefit of purchasing a personal umbrella policy? A. It provides additional coverage for high-value personal property. B. It extends liability coverage beyond the limits of existing policies. C. It covers the cost of repairs to vehicles involved in an accident. D. It protects against financial loss due to business-related activities. Correct answer. B. It extends liability coverage beyond the limits of existing policies. Explanation. A personal umbrella policy extends liability coverage beyond the limits of existing auto and homeowners insurance policies. It provides additional protection against major claims and lawsuits, which can exceed the coverage limits of primary policies. It does not cover personal property or vehicle repairs and is not designed for business-related activities. Question 72. Mr. Garcia, a homeowner in Minnesota, is concerned about potential losses due to power outages affecting his home. Which type of insurance endorsement could best address this risk? A. Scheduled personal property endorsement. B. Utility service failure endorsement. C. Personal liability endorsement. D. Personal articles floater. Correct answer: B. Utility service failure endorsement. Explanation: a utility service failure endorsement provides coverage for losses resulting from a failure of utility services, including power outages. This endorsement helps cover the cost of damage due to power outages, such as spoilage of perishable goods. Scheduled personal property endorsements and personal articles floaters address specific high-value items, while personal liability endorsements cover liability issues. Question 73. Which of the following is typically covered under a standard homeowner's insurance policy in Minnesota? A. Damage to a vehicle caused by a natural disaster. B. Medical expenses for injuries sustained by a guest on the insured property. C. Theft of a personal vehicle. D. Losses due to a power outage. Correct answer: B. Medical expenses for injuries sustained by a guest on the insured property. Explanation: a standard homeowner's insurance policy generally covers medical expenses for guests who are injured on the insured property through medical payments coverage. It does not cover vehicle damage from natural disasters, theft of vehicles, or losses due to power outages, which might require separate endorsements or policies. Question 74. What is the primary purpose of a personal articles floater in a homeowner's insurance policy in Minnesota? A. To cover general liability for accidents on the property. B. To provide broad coverage for high-value items not fully covered by the standard policy. C. To cover the cost of repairing home appliances. D. To extend coverage for flood-related damages. Correct answer: B. To provide broad coverage for high-value items not fully covered by the standard policy. Explanation: a personal articles floater provides additional coverage for high-value items, such as jewelry, art, or collectibles, that may not be fully covered under a standard homeowner's insurance policy. It does not cover general liability, home appliance repairs, or flood-related damages, which would require separate policies or endorsements. Question 75. MS. Johnson, who owns a rental property in Minnesota, is worried about the loss of rental income due to damage from a covered peril. Which type of insurance coverage would address this concern? A. Personal liability insurance. B. Fair rental value coverage. C. Earthquake insurance. D. Personal auto policy. Correct answer: B. Fair rental value coverage. Explanation: fair rental value coverage provides compensation for lost rental income when a rental property is damaged by a covered peril and becomes uninhabitable. This coverage is specifically designed for property owners who need to cover lost rental income during the repair period. Personal liability insurance and earthquake insurance address different types of risks, and a personal auto policy is unrelated to rental income. Question 76. In Minnesota, which of the following types of coverage would help pay for damages to your home caused by a covered fire? A. Personal articles floater. B. Earthquake insurance. C. Homeowners insurance. D. Flood insurance. Correct answer: C. Homeowners insurance. Explanation: homeowners insurance typically covers damages caused by fire as part of its standard coverage. Personal articles floaters cover high-value items. Earthquake insurance is specific to earthquake-related damages, and flood insurance covers damage from flooding, not fire. Question 77. Under a standard personal auto policy PAP in Minnesota, which coverage would help if you were injured as a passenger in your own vehicle? A. Liability coverage. B. Uninsured underinsured motorist coverage. C. Medical payments coverage. D. Collision coverage. Correct answer: C. Medical payments coverage. Explanation: medical payments coverage under personal auto policy helps pay for medical expenses for you and your passengers after an accident, regardless of who is at fault. Liability coverage addresses damages to others. Uninsured underinsured motorist coverage helps when involved with inadequately insured drivers, and collision coverage addresses vehicle repair costs. Question 78. If Mr. Davis in Minnesota has a high-value collection of antique furniture, which type of insurance or endorsement would most effectively cover this collection? A. Personal liability insurance. B. Scheduled personal property endorsement. C. Flood insurance. D. Personal articles floater. Correct answer. B. Scheduled personal property endorsement. Explanation. A scheduled personal property endorsement allows for the specific listing and additional coverage of high-value items, such as antique furniture, providing broader protection than a standard homeowner's insurance policy. Personal liability insurance covers legal liability, flood insurance covers flood-related damages, and personal articles floaters typically cover different categories of personal property. Question 79. Which of the following endorsements would provide coverage for personal property items while traveling internationally in Minnesota? A. Personal articles floater. B. Scheduled personal property endorsement. C. Personal liability endorsement. D. Travel insurance. Correct answer. D. Travel insurance. Explanation. Travel insurance provides coverage for personal property and other risks while traveling internationally, including lost or stolen items. Personal articles floaters and scheduled personal property endorsements provide coverage for specific items but are generally limited to domestic locations unless explicitly endorsed for international coverage. Personal liability endorsements address liability risks and do not typically cover personal property while traveling. Question 80. In Minnesota, which type of policy would best cover a rental dwelling against damages from covered perils such as fire or vandalism? A. Homeowner's insurance. B. Dwelling policy DPA 3. C. Personal auto policy. D. Flood insurance. Correct answer. B. Dwelling policy DPA 3. Explanation. A dwelling policy DPA 3 special form offers broad coverage for rental properties, including protection against damages from perils like fire and vandalism. Homeowners insurance is intended for owner-occupied properties, personal auto policy covers vehicles, and flood insurance addresses flood damage specifically. Question 81. Ms. Thompson in Minnesota has a new home and wants to ensure she is covered for potential losses due to a burst pipe. Which type of coverage is most appropriate for this situation? A. Homeowner's insurance. B. Earthquake insurance. C. Personal liability insurance. D. Watercraft insurance. Correct answer. A. Homeowner's insurance. Explanation. Homeowners insurance typically covers damages resulting from plumbing issues such as a burst pipe. Earthquake insurance is for earthquake damage. Personal liability insurance covers liability risks, and watercraft insurance is related to boats and personal watercraft, not plumbing issues. Question 82. Which of the following types of coverage in a homeowner's insurance policy in Minnesota would cover temporary living expenses if a home is rendered uninhabitable due to a covered loss? A. Dwelling coverage. B. Loss of use coverage. C. Personal property coverage. D. Medical payments coverage. Correct answer. B. Loss of use coverage. Explanation. Loss of use coverage provides reimbursement for additional living expenses incurred while a home is uninhabitable due to a covered loss. Dwelling coverage protects the physical structure. Personal property coverage protects belongings inside the home, and medical payments coverage handles medical expenses for injuries on the property. Question 83. What is the primary function of a personal umbrella policy in Minnesota? A. To provide coverage for business-related losses. B. To extend liability coverage beyond the limits of existing policies. C. To cover the cost of vehicle repairs. D. To insure valuable personal property like jewelry and art. Correct answer. B. To extend liability coverage beyond the limits of existing policies. Explanation: a personal umbrella policy provides additional liability coverage above the limits of existing auto and homeowners insurance policies. It does not cover business-related losses, vehicle repairs, or specific high-value items like jewelry, which would require a separate endorsement or floater. Question 84. In Minnesota, if a policyholder needs coverage for items stolen from their vehicle, which type of insurance policy or endorsement would most likely address this? A. Personal articles floater. B. A scheduled personal property endorsement. C. Personal auto policy. D. Homeowners insurance. Correct answer: C. Personal auto policy. Explanation: a personal auto policy can provide coverage for personal belongings stolen from a vehicle, though this coverage is typically limited and might require additional endorsements. Personal articles floaters and scheduled personal property endorsements are used for high-value items, but usually cover items within the home or in transit. Homeowners insurance generally does not cover items stolen from vehicles unless specifically endorsed. Question 85. If Mr. Smith in Minnesota accidentally causes damage to a neighbor's property while working on a home improvement project, which coverage in his homeowner's insurance policy would apply? A. Personal property coverage. B. Liability coverage. C. Medical payments coverage. D. Loss of use coverage. Correct answer: B. Liability coverage. Explanation: liability coverage in a homeowner's insurance policy protects against claims for damages caused to others' property or for bodily injury that occurs on the property. Personal property coverage deals with damage to the insured's own belongings. Medical payments coverage addresses injuries to guests, and loss of use coverage deals with living expenses if the home is uninhabitable. Question 86. Which of the following policies would provide coverage for a boat that is damaged in a storm while docked in Minnesota? A. Personal auto policy. B. Watercraft insurance. C. Earthquake insurance. D. Dwelling policy. Correct answer: B. Watercraft insurance. Explanation: watercraft insurance specifically covers physical damage to boats and other watercraft, including damage from storms. Personal auto policy covers vehicles. Earthquake insurance is for earthquake damage, and dwelling policy is for property like homes, not boats. Question 87. MS. Martinez's home in Minnesota was damaged due to a burst water pipe. Which part of her homeowner's insurance policy would most likely cover the cost of repairing the water damage? A. Liability coverage. B. Dwelling coverage. C. Personal articles floater. D. Earthquake insurance. Correct answer: B. Dwelling coverage. Explanation: dwelling coverage under a homeowner's insurance policy covers repairs to the physical structure of the home due to damage from covered perils, including water damage from burst pipes. Liability coverage is for personal liability claims. Personal articles floater covers high-value personal items, and earthquake insurance is for earthquake-related damage. Question 88. In Minnesota, if a homeowner's policy includes a scheduled personal property endorsement, which of the following is typically covered by this endorsement? A. Personal liability for injuries on the property. B. Loss of use expenses while the home is being repaired. C. Specific high-value items like jewelry or artwork. D. Damage to the home's exterior due to wind. Correct answer: C. Specific high-value items like jewelry or artwork. Explanation: a scheduled personal property endorsement provides additional coverage for specific high-value items like jewelry, artwork, or antiques beyond the limits of standard homeowners insurance. It does not cover personal liability, loss of use expenses, or general damage to the home's exterior. Question 89. What is the primary purpose of an uninsured motorist coverage ECA personal auto policy in Minnesota? A. To cover damages to the insured's vehicle from a collision. B. To provide compensation for injuries when the at-fault driver does not have insurance. C. To cover medical expenses for passengers in the insured's vehicle. D. To extend coverage for personal property lost in a vehicle. Correct answer: B. To provide compensation for injuries when the at-fault driver does not have insurance. Explanation. Uninsured motorist coverage helps cover medical expenses and damages if the insured is injured by a driver who lacks sufficient insurance. It does not cover vehicle damage, medical expenses for passengers, which is covered under medical payments coverage, or personal property lost in a vehicle. Question 90, MS. Anderson is renting a vacation home in Minnesota and wants insurance coverage for her personal belongings during the rental period. Which type of insurance would most likely be appropriate for this situation? A. Dwelling policy. B. Homeowners insurance. C. Personal property floater. D. Renters insurance. Correct answer. D. Renters insurance. Explanation. Renters insurance provides coverage for personal belongings within a rental property, including vacation rentals. Dwelling policy is used for rental properties owned by the landlord. Homeowners insurance is for owner-occupied homes, and personal property floater provides coverage for items regardless of location but is not specific to rental situations.